Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. I'm here for He Said, She Said, They Said. Normally we have Andrew Plank with us, but he's away. So we have a mortgage update today with Jen Lowe. How's it going, Jen?
Good. How are you?
Good. So what's up with you in real estate?
Yeah. Well, here we are, Monday morning. Busy. Busy and uniquely busy in that the frustrating part with it being busy is that underwriters have a ginormous queue of files that they have to go through, and they are extra picky.
Gotcha. Well, let's see what's happening with the market. Let me just see if I can bring this up here. Here we go. So new listings, we have a 283 over the past week with 241 pending. This is a fabulous list to sale ratio. That tells me it's moving into a seller's market. Price decreases are large at 112, and I think a lot of people are feeling the pressure to get their homes sold before the fall. We have 13 price increases, which is interesting. To me, this is probably in single family homes where the market is hottest. Condos are a little cooler. Closings, which is solds, are 432. And these are for the market watch overall for Victoria in the month of, or in the last 7 days. It's not surprising to me that we have a lot of solds on this day because people who are renting, who are moving into the housing market, will want to close on the last day of the month. And then what's happening exactly in the last 7 days is for the month, net unconditional sales is 939. So that's up over 30% where we were, over 50% of where we were last year.
Wow.
New listings is 1,308 for the month compared to 1,006 last year, and active listings were creeping up to 2,683. So are you seeing this in your business as well?
Yes. It seems like, what I've been saying is that our spring market, what's normally been our spring market, is summer. Like normally in August, it's not, well, the stats show there, it's just not normally this busy. You don't have new listings and, people aren't looking to purchase. They're on vacation.
Right. Yeah. Meantime, everybody is staying around town, right?
Yeah. And they've done those renovations. Now they want to sell their house. The other thing I've really noticed too is people are changing, like, with the ability to work from home, they're changing where they want to live.
Because they don't
need to live downtown.
Pardon?
They don't necessarily need to live downtown anymore, or they can move out and to a more rural property. Or
it's hot in Metchosin right now where I live, very hot. So what about what's happening with mortgages? Any changes in rules?
CMHC brought in their rule change beginning in July. The biggest one being the qualifying ratio reduction to the qualifying ratios. There's 3 insurers though, so it really didn't affect the market because there's 3 of, yes?
Okay, so just to explain to people, so you're going to have insurance on your mortgage when you have less than 20% down. And and the reason why is because the bank is buying 81 plus % of the home.
Yeah. So, and there's 3 insurers. Quite often people just think of it as CMHC insurance because CMHC has been the biggest one for many years. There are 2 other privately owned insurers, being Genworth and Canada Guarantee. Those 2 have picked up a good chunk of the market now because they did not follow suit to when CMHC changed their policy beginning of July.
What was the policy change?
The minimum credit score and gross debt service ratio. That was the biggest one. It went from 39% to 35%. Your gross debt service ratio takes into consideration your gross income and taking off your monthly housing costs. So your mortgage, property taxes, and heat.
So how is that determined? I always wondered that. I do get asked that question, and I always answer it's subjective. So like when somebody says, oh, like for instance, we moved into a house, we live in 3,500 square feet, and they were paying, how much were they paying? $330 a month for, it's all electric, everything. And ours ended up being $270.
Right. Yes. So, well, yeah, and it actually can open up a bit of a can of worms because each lender uses different heat calculation. I always do it based on 0.6 or 60 cents a square foot is what I use. That's kind of the norm. Property taxes, those vary by municipality hugely. So that can really make a difference. And then, yeah, the mortgage principal and interest.
When is a good time for someone to meet up with a mortgage broker? Like if they say they want to move in 1 or 2 years, when is a good time for them to meet up with you?
Now, right? I mean, you never know. It's setting the framework per se, or and understanding what goes into obtaining a mortgage approval. There's so many key things to do with your credit, keeping your credit score high, how your credit score can be reduced. People think that if they just have one credit card and they don't use it, that's great, but it's not. It's not doing anything for you if you're not using it. Or if you have only a $500 limit, but you use $501 of that $500 limit each month, your credit is now over limit, and that drops your score too. So there's so many little things that go into making it a less stressful process when you do find that home that you want to proceed on, as opposed to, I could go on and on, but as opposed to when, you find the home and then it's like, oh shoot, I need to contact my mortgage broker now. And I need a mortgage broker because I found this place I love, which happens.
Yes.
Mad panic.
Yes. And I'm saying, call Jen right now.
Yeah.
Hey, so let me ask you a question. What's the best, if you have a credit card, and let's say you have $1,000, what's the best ratio that you should have in order to build up your credit score?
Keep it under 650.
Okay.
Oh,
so 65%. Because I lowered my credit card because they kept raising it. I'm like, oh my God. To me, it's a liability.
Yeah, and some lenders, and it's funny actually, when I worked in the banking world, in the bank, you had to assume that every credit card was maxed out. So you set a payment in determining the qualifying ratios and everything based on the credit card being maxed out. In the broker world, we don't have to do that. I don't know, I mean, it's been a while since I've been in the banking world. That could have changed, but that was a huge, to only use the balance that's owing, even though that money could be advanced, right?
So what are we looking at right now for interest rates?
So low. When you've got an insured mortgage, you can get it down to like 1.89%. So meaning less than 20% down for a fixed 5-year mortgage.
Holy smokes.
The counter to that, though, is that what we are seeing, because interest rates are so low, I've never seen them in having a 1 point something ever. The penalties to get out of your fixed rate mortgage are thousands of dollars. Like at minimum, like we're seeing them $16,000-$17,000 up to, I saw one last week for $44,000.
So, and are people making that choice because overall, is it still cheaper over 5 years?
It depends. Yeah, the numbers show, like with this one that I had that showed $44,000, the numbers made sense. Like you would save money if you paid this penalty. But is there an ability for that penalty to be reduced if we give it another couple months, and depending on what interest rate is used to compare, and your penalty may lower. So yeah, I mean, at $44,000, like that's
somebody's whole income plus.
Yeah.
So when you do that and you refinance with the penalty, do you have to pay the penalty outright, or does it get paid in the refinancing?
It can be included in the refinance. The best thing to do is to keep your payments the same, right? That you're paying now, and then you're going to pay your mortgage down much quicker, and that amount of interest savings just is bigger and bigger, which is great. Because of these high penalties, I really am recommending as much as possible going with a variable rate mortgage.
Right, because then you'll follow the low rate, and usually over time, statistically, it's always been less than fixed rate anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, and for people who don't like risk, well, you can do fixed rate, but
understand that you may be looking at these horrible penalties. You know, if you do want to get out of your mortgage early, the average is 3.8 years, and it's to a T. It's just so interesting how most people, there's a life event change. You know, they've had kids, now their place is too small, they want to move, or they want to downsize, or they want to do a renovation, or interest rates have changed, and it just makes sense.
Does it make sense to get a line of credit on a house just in case you want to purchase another house or anything like that?
Yes. Yeah. Qualifying for that is definitely gotten harder. But yeah, you know, one huge opportunity for that is before you retire. So if you're looking to downsize, but you're thinking of retiring in the next year or two prior to going on a fixed pension, get that line of credit set up on your house. It will make your transition easier. Yeah.
So one of the challenge I'm finding with people is that they want to know where they're going. Elderly people want to know where they're going before they purchase. Mm-hmm. How do you recommend they finance that sort of thing? With the line of credit, or do you recommend them sell? Like the issue for them is where they don't want to take the risk of being homeless.
Totally. And usually these people are mortgage free, or can be mortgage free. So yes, there's an ability to potentially put a line of credit on there. There's also an ability to do a reverse mortgage, because there's no qualification with a reverse mortgage. Yeah, those are the two options prior to selling. Because one of the key myths out there, lots of people call and they say, I'd like to arrange bridge financing for in between because I'm going to be moving. And bridge financing, you can't set up bridge financing unless you have a firm purchase agreement and a firm sale agreement.
Right, so they know that you're going to be going ahead.
Yeah. So if you want, like this exact scenario that you're mentioning, bridge financing doesn't work because they don't have a firm sale agreement yet.
Okay. So I'm finding I get calls from appraisers on the 11th hour of the 10th day, because usually we're going for 10 days for financing. And I'm getting calls from appraisers. Are appraisals coming in lower or higher, or at asking price these days?
At asking price or above is what I'm seeing. I haven't seen any, me personally, come in lower. and it's one of those things that we don't want to ask. I don't want to order the appraisal and have clients pay for an appraisal if there's some lenders that have an automated appraisal system, so we may not need an appraisal. Right? So it's not until we get that approval that we don't want to order the appraisal, but then, yeah, it can cause a challenge for you.
So an appraisal is what determines a lending value.
Correct. And it's based on really the last 30 to 60 days, the last 30 days of the market value. So, some people have old appraisals. Well, I got an appraisal done 3 months ago. Well, I'm sorry, but that's too old. I mean, look at the current market, how much it's changed. The one thing I am hearing too is lumber costs are through the roof, like 3 times higher than what they were not even that long ago. That's going to have an impact on house prices coming into the fall.
And I think that's because of fires and also tariffs in the U.S.
Yes. And COVID.
And what?
COVID, because there wasn't people working that were cutting the trees down, that were preparing the lumber to get it on the market.
Interesting. So interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, what's your prediction for what's happening? And well, actually, any interesting products out there in the mortgage world right now?
There's definitely a couple cash back offers, which is nice. There's fine print with the cash back offers. And that's always important to read. TD Canada Trust has a good cash back that usually expires August 31st, and they've extended it to October 30th, where they're offering, I think, up to $2,000 cash back. Fine print is your mortgage has to come out of a TD bank account. So, yeah, the incentive is to, transfer your banking over to TD for $2,000. That's could be worth it for sure.
So would you recommend one bank over another for banking? I know that you come from the banking industry.
Yeah. For me, it's ease of online banking. I hear of some of the credit unions, their online banking is just extremely stressful and times out all the time and causes a lot of, so it's free, but it's not user friendly. I love Scotia online banking. Absolutely love it. For ease, ability to deposit my checks on my phone, all that kind of stuff. It's just e-transferring is just so easy.
Okay, and then so we were talking about products. Any other products that are good?
That's, really honestly, it's always worth, if you're in a variable rate mortgage or a fixed rate mortgage, always worth finding out what your penalty is. Seeing, if you got your mortgage a year to 2 years ago, or you're coming up for renewal, take a look and see what your penalty is to get out of it. I can do the calculations and see if it's worth refinancing and getting a lower rate.
Okay. And do you have any questions for me as a realtor?
Well, how are you finding it? I'm finding there's so many people are interested in asking questions. Does it make sense to move? How are you managing the market right now?
So what I tell people is when you have a plan, it's amazing how much, if you follow the plan, how everything flows. It's when you change your mind that things go awry, as we know. So having the vision of where you want to be often allows you to keep your eye open. Having the plan in place, getting strategic alliances with your realtor and your mortgage broker, just so that you're prepared. You can make the jump really easy. I think that it's calming down. I thought I was going to have a day off yesterday and I had 3 appointments. I was all excited. For me, I just figure I'll just make hay while the sun shines, because I know that it won't last forever, and I've got the help of a good assistant, so a great assistant. So we rely on each other. I don't think I've had a day off since phase one of the reopening has started, really.
Yeah.
And so, what does a day off mean to me? Well, today's pretty relaxed. I only have 3 appointments again.
It's not having the brain going 24/7, I think.
Yeah.
Like, my brain's going at 7:30 in the morning, and sometimes I'm on the phone with clients at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. That can be a little exhausting, but yeah, I'm 100% with you. I feel it might be settling down a little bit, but we'll have to see. How are you managing the multiple offers? You are very successful with multiple offers in multiple offer situations.
I cannot tell you, otherwise I'd have to kill you. So in the multiple offer situation, I think really a couple of things come into play. When I'm a listing agent, I'm looking at who the realtor is, who's bringing in the offer, and what record they have with success. I definitely want to make sure that they have experience with following through. And it's funny, I worked with a realtor when I first started in real estate, and often their transactions would go sideways. And I was like, why do their offers go sideways when mine don't? And I think it has to do with what the pressure that's put on the buyer to make the offer or the seller to make the sale, and whether or not they're comfortable with it. So I really make sure there's a high level of comfort before we move forward with writing the offer. Mm-hmm. And an offer really is just a question, and it gives somebody time to make a decision on whether or not they want to move forward. And a seller, the response is a yes or no, or we're going to, change things up a bit. So I find I'm not married to the response, so it's not emotional on my level, and I think that helps.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I answered your question. How am I successful? I have a few secrets up my sleeve.
Yeah.
And one of them is preparing the buyers ahead of time, like really getting them ready for the multiple offers so that they have things like their down payment with you set up, or they have they know for sure what they can spend, so they don't feel like they're overreaching. And sometimes you have to lose a few to win. Mm-hmm. To really realize, okay, you gotta get all the the shooting at the same time. But and I think just having a good conversation at the beginning of the relationship to get them going so that we're all on the same page. Yeah, and getting them to meet the team of people who we
regularly.
Yeah.
Makes it all a little smoother for sure.
Yeah, and I think also when we look at a house, we give them really good feedback about what they're seeing, so that they're aware, so that when the inspection comes back, they're not surprised. Because it's not what you find out, it's when you find it out. Like, is the roof bad? Is the deck bad? Does it look like the perimeter drains need work? Are we going to have to do an oil tank inspection? Or what's the wiring going to be like? Just being aware before we even get there. So then when they write the offer, they know this is what's going to happen anyway. So there's less likelihood of them kind of it not working out. And then the multiple offers, as I said, having a good relationship with other realtors is really important.
Yes. Same with, working with the lending partners, right? I mean, as a mortgage broker, I have access to 40 plus lenders, but I don't work with 40 plus lenders regularly. I work with like about 10 that I've been working with for years. I know their products, and I have a great relationship. with the underwriter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes left. Is there anything else you want to discuss?
Oh man, here we are. We're live. Monday morning. What's the day gonna bring?
How's real estate changed for you? Like, how has being a mortgage broker changed for you over COVID?
Yeah, I very rarely meet clients in person. Mostly it's virtually through Zoom or over the phone. It's definitely made my day more efficient, you know, and I'm, with being as busy as I am, I'm really taking on the time blocking for activities. It's been interesting seeing how my clients have been affected, how their income's been affected, how many people are working from home now. It's so
right. Interesting. Yeah, and their needs are changing because they're working from home.
Yeah, and here's how the market is, right? It's just been so busy, which is great.
Okay, well, you guys, if you would like to get in touch with Jen, you can. This is her contact information, 250-217-4925 or jenlowe.ca. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group. So my email is briarhillgroup@gmail.com. My number is 250-744-0775. And we are on Mondays to talk about Victoria real estate. And normally I'm with Andrew Plank, and this is his number, 250-360-6106, andrewplank.com. We hope to see you next Monday. Thank you, Jen, for coming today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We'll have you again. Perhaps with Andrew present, we could have a good 3 or 4 way conversation. We'll get some conflicting opinions and
yes,
all that stuff. Okay, we'll see you next Monday at 10 a.m. on He Said, She Said, They Said, a real discussion in real estate in Victoria. Take care. Have a great day.